C2C is going to a new version, right? The 4.0.
Yes.
And how do you see it is evolving? And can you please summarize the main changes and explain how they are going to impact the final product and the certification process?
Yes, you're right. We will release the version 4 of our standard in the first quarter of 2021. And we are very proud. It has been a lengthy updating process of our standard that was done in a multi-stakeholder process following ISO requirements. And that was also done in a very transparent way with even public commenting periods for anybody who's engaged in circular economy to provide feedback. And we have updated the standard to be in line with the latest scientific findings and also with the state-of-the-art practices that are now being deployed across the industries. And you ask about the main changes in the certification version 4 and the standard version 4. So there are changes throughout all categories, but I would like to take out maybe one change per category just to make it a little bit more concrete. So for example, in the material health category, we have updated our banned substances list to a restricted substances list. So that's a list, where the chemical composition is screened against of a product. And this RSL is, of course, now much more comprehensive than the list before, and also includes the elements around the technical and the biological cycle. In the product circularity, we have, for example, introduced a circularity data report recycling instructions. So that includes information of the product related to circularity, like the recycled content or the responsibly sourced renewable content, but also how the product was designed, and most importantly, also the cycling instruction, so that when the product comes to the end of a first life, that it's known, what can be done then for the multiple life cycles afterwards. In the clean air and climate protection category, we have strengthened the requirements around embodied carbons. So not only to look at operational carbon, but really the carbon being generated in the supply chains. In the water and soil stewardship, we have strengthened the soil, the biodiversity part, and then also enhanced the categories or the criteria to be in line with the level of efforts within the other categories. And social fairness, what I want to highlight here, that it is in line with leading due diligence approaches. Also one important other update is that we have expanded the scope of packaging requirements. So if besides the product, also the packaging is certified, there are now also enhanced requirements related to material health and circularity.
Great. I have a follow-up question about this, specifically in the product circularity category. There are a lot of significant changes. And we see now that you've been using the term cycled and cyclable, which we thought was very interesting. And also the annex with specific data for materials and the technical possibilities of cycled content for each material. I thought that was very interesting, how you came to that. And also specifically, we saw that we don't have now the material reutilization equation that there used to be in version 3. And we used to talk about this in our workshops because we thought it was an interesting way to highlight that it's more important to think about what's happening after the use, where this product will go to, than necessarily the amount of cycled material. So I'd like to ask you, now that the equation is gone, how do you emphasize this? Or is there a way this is emphasized in the new standard?
Yeah, so I think we have balanced it quite nicely in the product circularity category. So we have 3 parts in there, right? So one is the responsible sourcing, or let's say the sourcing part, the circular sourcing that relates to this recycled content or the renewable content that you outlined. It is a very important part, and we have defined, of course, these limits or the requirements for the recycled content based on the achievement level. So it's a higher content with the gold and with the platinum level and with the silver or bronze level. Then besides this circular sourcing part, we have the circular design and the circular systems. And I think that very strongly emphasizes, of course, like you say, the reutilization of the materials and the high value cycling. This is really important here. And we have really expanded these criteria in a way that we enable the system, because in the end, it requires a system in the supply chain to be able, to reutilize these materials and products and to keep them in the cycle. So I think both elements are very important. Let's say the material composition next to really the design and the system change that we try to drive there, also with the circularity data report.
Great. So you don't have the ×2, ×1, but both aspects are emphasized,
yes,
right?
Yes, exactly.
Another question about the social category, because when we are promoting these ideas in Brazil, we have heard some criticism, both of the circular economy concept and cradle to cradle, for not focusing as much on the social dimension as much as material health or cyclability. So how would you respond to that? And how does this new version improve the social criteria requirements as well?
Yes, it is a very important topic, the social dimensions of the circular economy, and I think it's also partly an emerging topic in the industry. In Cradle to Cradle, it has always been part of the thinking. So we always had this social fairness category. In that, we are not like a classical eco-label where you focus exclusively on the environmental topics, but it's really this holistic approach. But it is true that in particular in the version 4, we have made significant updates to the social fairness category. On the one hand, to really take into account what is happening in terms of social topics on the production of the product and in the supply chain of a product. And on the other hand, also the effects that it has on the employees and the wider community. And coming to the version 4, this category is really focused on the company level. So all the other categories are focused on a product level, or it translates what's happening in the supply chain in a company on a product level. This is focused on the company level. And it includes topics like upholding, of course, fundamental human rights. So looking at assessment, a risk assessment related to human rights, looking at policy implementation, looking at accountability mechanisms, grievance mechanisms, also at the responsible sourcing practices, of course, with the suppliers. And for example, at the platinum level, it relates to paying living wages, just to give an example on the ambition. And a big element in this classical, let's say, maybe social supply chain topics is also to look at how we call it a positive social impact project. So really seeing that a positive impact is made to the surrounding communities and also to the employees within the company. So in the version 4, the social category has really been brought up to the state of the art and the current discussions, of course, and at gold platinum level, it really leads the market in terms of requirements.